we talked about accessing opportunities before they go out to bid. So this week, we're actually talking about another avenue on how to get started in this space, right? And that's working with prime contractors, working with contractors that are actively pursuing opportunities, but also need support from our small businesses, right? So we mentioned that there are a lot of prime contractors out there that actually just focus on their goals. So we decided to actually bring on organizations that go beyond the goals and actually and truly want to provide an impact and work with small businesses. So I am joined today with Jessica from Brasfield Gorrie. Hi, Jessica.
Hello, good afternoon. Great to see you.
Thank you. How are you? How are things going?
I'm doing great, doing well. I've got a 5-year-old that just started kindergarten, so we are busy and tired, but we're all good.
Look, we're making it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm super excited to have you on board. Before we kind of hop into just the details of things, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. So, Jessica McMahan, and I am currently the Senior Supplier Diversity Manager at Brasfield Gorrie. The role in the company I will talk about more in a moment. And I'm married to my husband, Jeff. We have one child, Noah, who I mentioned has had a really busy couple of weeks just becoming a big kid. And we recently moved to Atlanta from Florida about 3 years ago. And prior to the job I'm in now, I had a variety of roles from working with college students on a campus to working with child dependency cases through guardian ad litem. And I started to learn about what I cared about was working with people and creating those opportunities for future growth or just having a future at all. And I ended up working at Brasfield Gorrie, which I thought would be very temporary. And I would go back to, as I finished grad school, I would go back to community-based care or community work. And I was given this opportunity to work in pre-construction, which my dad worked in construction for many years, but all I knew was, I guess he built buildings. I did not really understand what it meant, but I was able to learn. I ended up taking the chance, spent 5 years in pre-construction learning about what construction is, all the opportunities it has, and learning how to build projects and work with contractors. And I was really at a point of not really no return, like this is what I was going to do forever, or could I get back to what I was originally trying to do? And at that same time, our corporate responsibility department was growing. They were looking to grow a manager for diversity and inclusion. And because of my background in pre-construction, we changed the role to supplier diversity. So specific to suppliers, which is what I had spent 5 years doing. And then that combination of caring about people and wanting to create those opportunities was this like perfect fit. So that is really where we're at right now.
Nice. So just hearing that journey, you mentioned guardians ad litem, you mentioned just continuously throughout, the course of your career, growing, evolving, but also there's a pattern of consistent, like continuously helping people.
Mhm.
So natural fit after leaving pre-construction to support
Yes.
communities. Now, in your role, well, first, can you tell us a little bit about Brasfield and Gorrie?
Of course, yeah. So Brasfield Gorrie, we are a large general contractor and we focus on commercial construction. So we are headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama, and then we have offices throughout the Southeast. So it ranges from Dallas over to Raleigh, down to Miami. And then our work is concentrated in the Southeast as well, where our offices are. And we just celebrated our 60th anniversary this year. Yes, in June, a big party is very exciting. Been around for a long time, hopefully, 60 more years to come. But within commercial construction, we work in about 15 different market sectors, which is a range from healthcare, hospitals, multifamily towers, commercial office buildings, government work, stadiums, retail, hospitality, infrastructure, and industrial. So lots of different project types going on, not necessarily all at the same time, but of course, as markets change, then we can change with them. And our average project size is around 30 million. Again, a big range from one-room renovations in hospitals to ground-up towers. And our largest project to date we're working on right now actually is our West Alabama Highway project, and it's going to be about $1 billion. So lots of range and lots of different types and lots of needs for all of those projects. And we are a construction company, so usually getting started with us is through our pre-construction department, and then that moves over to project management. But we're also office buildings with support and needs for suppliers and vendors through those ways as well.
Now, that's a big deal. I want to come back to that too. So working with suppliers pre and post construction, and then also maintenance, like facilities maintenance side of it. So I want to come back to that. So I'll put a pin in it. But before I do that, I want to learn a little bit about your role as supplier supplier diversity. What does that entail?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role is big picture to support our company supplier diversity effort. So whatever initiatives we're trying to focus on there and goals, and also, so that's internally, and then externally supporting the contractors and suppliers that are trying to work with us. So trying to really be that bridge between our company and external companies that want to work with us. So that means many different things. So I work with our Vice President of Corporate Responsibility, Natalie Kelly, to really create that strategy, like what are our goals right now? And then as we meet something, what can we do next? And then, which is really, we want to work with every qualified contractor, and then also help support the future continued growth of inclusion in construction. And then also working with our division managers and marketing. So project pursuits, right? Like sharing our stories, getting people connected to projects and being a part of those interviews, just talking about what we're doing with our clients. And then heavy with pre-construction, right? Like that's how you get in the door. And so there's lots of work with our pre-construction departments on creating that project strategy, making contractor introductions, outreach events for projects, and just really working through all of that before it gets to construction. But then still with construction, we have on-site needs, suppliers, vendors, temporary toilets, dumpsters, final clean. There's all kinds of things the job needs outside of what pre-construction signs up. So working with our project managers, and then getting out in the community. The local trade organizations are everything to us, right? They help us connect with contractors and share project information. So I do a lot of being out there and having like this incredible opportunity here with government coins, being able to just talk about what we're doing. So lots of that. And then I'll wrap this up in a moment. That's a lot of different things. But our diverse spend tracking and reporting, that's a big part of the role, is creating that process and then updating and analyzing that to know where we are, what is our current, like who are we currently working with? What does that look like? What does that spend? What does that mean? What are the numbers? And then how does that relate to what's available, who's available, and how do we then, where can we grow from there? So it takes a lot of effort. And then finally, our internal supplier diversity program, EQUIP, which we will touch on more in a moment, but I get to manage that. It's myself and one team member, Lauren Schroeder. So we we doubled in size from one person to two people, very exciting. But we do lots of work to build relationships all year long so that when projects come up, you're ready to go and you're already part of our process. So the role, it's spread out in Atlanta, but I cover the whole company. So we just try to work with everyone and touch all the different departments that we have.
Nice. I love that. And to that point, I think we could kind of move into that and share a little bit about the actual EQUIP program.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. EQUIP, as I said, is our internal, so just internal to Brasfield Gorrie supplier diversity program. And it is all about creating connections and fostering opportunities. And it's fully focus on diverse businesses. And we work on doing that through networking events, sharing project information, and training and resources. So the program itself was founded in 2019, and it started off as an event. So we were getting feedback from contractors 2017, 2018 about how do we get in the door? Like we see your company, we see you're there, we know there's projects and opportunities, but you guys, it feels like a closed in circle. So how do we get in the door? And so Natalie said, why don't we get together, right? Let's have a training. Let's meet. We got to know people to know what we're doing. It's all about the relationships and finding out what work we're doing. So it was an event to come to get together, talk about construction focused or technical assistance with either the industry or pre-con or just some kind of training or market sector specific sharing. And then 2020, we had a pause and just trying to figure out, of course, what was happening in the world. And then in 2021, it came back as a virtual event. So it was a same thing, we're training and resources, but you could do it all virtually. And what came out of that was really you had a wider audience. We could cover our whole footprint. Instead of just doing one in Alabama or Georgia, we could open it up, still have the training, Zoom breakout rooms. While it's not shaking hands, it's still a great way to connect with someone. So we could still have networking at that time. And then when I joined the role or moved from pre-con to the role in 2021, I was able to take what Natalie had done and just kind of run with it and create more of a full program where we have a website that is updated, has information, projects, opportunities, just sharing things all the time, the trade organization events we're going to, all those resources I've mentioned. And then we started communications. We know you got to know what's going on, right? So we have a newsletter every month. We share our project events. I'm sure someone would tell you it's a lot of emails. They might say that. We try to keep it to one a week. We really do. It's hard. We know you're getting a lot of emails, but if you don't get the emails, you don't know what's going on. So we have regular communication, consistent communication, and then we've grown from just that one event to pure networking events in person and the project specific events and sponsoring and partnering with trade organizations. So that is what that program is focused on, and it's grown from 250 members to over 1,000 right now. Of course, that represents our whole footprint. And now we're focusing on making sure we're getting all those people work. You can join the program. Anyone, no matter if your business started today or it's been around for 40 years, you can become a member of the program. And then from there, you'll be able to find out what we're doing, get through our process, and start bidding work to get a job. So you might not be ready to jump on a project right away, but at least you're getting in the door and building those relationships and that access to the opportunity, right? That's what it's all about, is knowing what that bid is and getting that invite. And then you can decide if you want to pursue it or not. And if you do, you get that feedback and then hopefully win a contract eventually. So yes, that is our program, and it's always evolved. It's continuing to grow and evolve as we see what's needed.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that program. So for anyone who's tuning in on YouTube or you're listening to the audio for this, check the link in YouTube. I dropped the link in the chat for Brasfield Gorrie's Equip program. There's a nice blue button on there. Go ahead and join. She mentioned that there are not a lot of emails in the newsletter. Listen, I'm pretty sure you also just mentioned there are a lot of opportunities in that email as well. So I would immediately go ahead and sign up for that one. So I'm excited about that. Now, one other piece that you mentioned that I kind of want to go back to a little bit is you mentioned there are opportunities as subcontractors, but also as suppliers. Can we talk about that? Like on the job site, you mentioned, the removable or porta potties. Like, can we talk about what are some of those things that as a business I can become a supplier with Brasfield Gorrie, and then we can kind of hit on some areas where subcontractor also works.
Yes, absolutely. When we were talking about this earlier with some of the questions, the subcontractors that really on the job site, right? And we'll talk more about that in a moment. But then when it comes to Supplier, it's a company where we're buying like a service or a good from, right? We don't have to do all of that paperwork. You don't have a contract, that risk, that safety, that insurance, all that stuff. We're able to just buy something from you. So we have lots of opportunities like that. And we've worked with our superintendents and our project managers to get an understanding of what they are buying on the job site. And it's a pretty long list of just random things, from tools to paper to water to their field office to the dumpsters, the temporary toilets, sometimes equipment. What are some other things? Oh, today I was just talking with someone, drug testing is usually done for a project on site. So that might be a need where they don't have a relationship. So there I can send a longer list or talk more with anyone that's interested, but there are lots of things that they're looking for. So we have been working on getting that list organized per area. So our job, when our project managers can go to that and say, okay, I need that some trailer cleaning, or I need to buy some tools. Is there anyone in my area that I can call that we've been trying to build a relationship with? So there's no really vendor supplier portal or vendor portal for that type of work, but you can join a quip, you can email me, and then we'll talk more about getting you connected to the right person. And then for our buildings, right, our office buildings, a lot of them we do have like a property manager that's managing those buildings that we are in, even if we built the building. But we know who those property manager is, so there's some connection there. But our offices need support. We do tons of eating. We have lots of events where we need food and catering. I always look to the local minority or women-owned contractors to do our catering for all of our events, because it's always so delicious, and we have lots of time where it's a great way to just bring someone in. And then some of the other things on site or in our offices would be, I'm trying to think of what was one recently. Well, it's a little bit construction related, but our BIM, our virtual design and construction department, needed support with BIM modeling, and they needed some third-party support. So we're looking for a vendor to provide that service for them, and we were able to find a minority-owned vendor for that. So just things come up all the time where we get to have opportunities.
And I love that, because it shows two areas or ways to, one, come in as a supplier and I'm just providing our services to you, but as a subcontractor, I'm a partner on this project that you're doing. Can we talk a little bit about what some of those projects actually entail, or the needs for some of those projects for suppliers?
Yes, absolutely. So with our construction projects, right? That's what you're referring to. Yes. So we, of course, are general contractors, I mentioned. So our biggest spend, what we focus on all the time, is our trade contractors, and is our construction projects and the subs and the trade partners we need to work with. So we, as a general contractor, do self-perform some work. So meaning we handle it all in-house, and that is usually concrete, like our structure, which some of that still gets subbed out with different portions and pieces of that, or site work, but everything else is through a trade contractor, right? So that is almost every other CSI division, from concrete to masonry, all of the structure, besides concrete. Sorry, I said concrete. I meant steel and masonry and that part of the structure, as well as all of the envelope of the building, from the waterproofing, roofing, walls, all the finishes, and mechanical, electrical, plumbing. I was listening to Shante from Samet give on her podcast, and she was saying a lot of the same things. So I think that is great to communicate going on in the construction industry, it's really similar across our general contractors, right? We were looking for trade contractors, really trade partners, because it's we build that relationship. We want to work with you again and again and again. But yeah, we're always looking for contractors in any of those CSI divisions to be able to start getting to know you and getting you through in our bidding process.
Got it. Nice. Now, this is another component of it. So, since we're talking about the subcontracting aspect now, what are some of the requirements as a small business who's interested in becoming a subcontractor?
Yes. So requirements. There's a handful of steps that you need to go through, which handful, there's 2, 3 if you want to join Equip that help get you through the door. And then when we're looking for requirements, you think about the insurances you needed or bonding that's needed. And there are definitely some things that are the same across the board for every project. Our insurance doesn't really change. Bonding is really based on your contract size. And we have a sample subcontract that we can share with anyone. So if anyone is interested, I'm happy to share my email, and you can reach out to me to look at that, to understand the insurance needs and then see where there might be bonding. Usually contract size 250,000 and up will need bonding of some kind. And we do have resources to help connect you with a company, hopefully in your area, but we can look into that. So those are definitely a couple of requirements. Other than that, really knowing your business. That is a requirement. So like understanding what trade you work on and what your focus is, and then the area that you work in and your capacity. So I talk with contractors all the time, and I'm just always amazed. Entrepreneurs amaze me because it's just the work that you have to do it's never ending and it's tireless, but it can have an incredible reward. But when we hear I can do anything at any size, it doesn't really help us move you forward or get you to the right contract. So let's focusing on one thing at a time, and we're going to get really good at that, and then get you on a project, do really good at that, and then the door will just bust wide open for anything, right? But being able to really share that focus area and a project size, so we can say, okay, of all the projects we're working on right now, this one is definitely going to be in your wheelhouse. We do a lot of budgeting, so we're able to look at a project and see and know, okay, the painting on this size project or this project is 50,000 or 10 million. Like there's going to be somewhere where your company will want to do and where it will fit.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love the breakdown of, if the bonding is based on your project as opposed to everyone has to have the same exact amount of bonding. I think that is one area alone that really makes it easier for small businesses, because it's really just about what you're doing. So okay, I love that. I love that side of it. And then the other question that I have, and this will kind of be one of those following final questions in a sense, is how does the current training programs work? So you mentioned that there's a virtual training. If I wanted to attend that training, how do I do that? The training or the networking events?
Yes, of course. So I mentioned Equip, and I'll talk about that. I won't go into all the detail of the program again, but I'll give a quick little those steps to get to that, and then through Equip is how you're going to get all set up with all the communication and understanding what we're doing and staying informed. But before that, there's a couple of steps so that you make sure you're connected, not just with Equip, but with our company. So we have our pre-qualification form. Similar to every other general contractor, it isn't going to get you a contract. It's getting you set up in our database so that you're ready for a contract and you have the information you need, or we have the information we need to know about capacity size, those kinds of things, but you're just ready to go. And then building connected, again, very similar information that was shared from Shantae. That is the only building there are several bidding platforms on the market. Building Connected is the only one that Brasfield Gorrie uses. So in order to receive bids from us, you have to be set up on Building Connected. It is completely free for a trade contractor or supplier to set up their profile, but it's basically a requirement because we won't be able to send you a bid, and you won't be able to participate in the bidding process. And then that way you know what's going on and can start working with us, or at least can start submitting those bids to then work with us. Unfortunately, none of that means you are going to get a bid or going to get a contract. It's getting you set up. And that is really where that networking training equip program comes in. We've talked to our operations managers, and they're always, when they're working with someone new, meeting someone new for the first time, they are looking to understand if you have references, what projects you've worked with in the past, and then getting to know you. And that is a huge part of just construction in general, right? It's all about risk, or it is a risky business. So in order to mitigate that risk, it's to have trust between the people we're working with. And to have trust, you got to get to know them. So how do you get to know them? And that's through the trainings and networking and events that we host. And so that is where Equip comes in. As I talked about it earlier, it helps bridge that gap between meeting us and hopefully getting a contract and bringing people together. So to stay informed on when those events are, those trainings, is just to join as a member. And when you join as a member, we, myself or Lauren Schroeder will reach out to you and request a phone call, because we want to start building that relationship right away. And we want you to have a contact in our company from the beginning right away. So that will be Lauren and I as you get started. Eventually, we want you to forget about us and have your pre-con and project management contact and say, I don't even know who they are. But and that will make us happy. But we want to have a phone call, because we want to get to know you. We want you to start getting to know us. And so we'll request that phone call. And then from there, we'll get you set up with in our database, and you'll just get access to everything on the website. So if you go now, there's probably a Nashville Building Connections event. There's several trade organization events. We've got a US soccer project in Atlanta that's virtual. So there's just all kinds of events going on. You can check out and register for what you're interested in. Our next training event, we just had one on Tuesday, so it's every other month. So October will be the next one, and we're talking about market sector types, overview, how to get into it, tips and tricks, questions on that, and it's on the commercial market sector. I believe I'm speaking correctly. We just talked about the industrial market sector on Tuesday, and that will be on the website too for recordings if you want to watch later at a later date. And then all the projects we're working on, we put those on the website as well, not the documents or anything, just an overview. So then you can reach out to us if you're interested in that project, and then we'll get you connected through Building Connected.
Nice. Okay, so I love one that there's a platform that does that. Now, here's another question, like piggybacking off of that. As a new business that is actually just getting into this space, how do we navigate doing business as a subcontractor to help build up that past performance? How is that something that we would be able to do? Would you be able to leverage your experience as, an individual working in this trade at other companies? How do we leverage our past performance to increase our chances of working with Brasfield and Gorrie?
Yeah, it's such a good question, right? It's kind of like when you are trying to get a job for the first time, you're like, I need experience. How do I get experience? So you got to give me experience. I do think the commercial construction industry can be challenging just to get in for the first time, because you're trying to understand how to do bids and how to build those relationships. So I think that some of the federal government work is a great way to get started, because it can be a smaller job and you can get set up on something a little bit quicker, I think, than some of our private commercial work. And they're always looking for small businesses. So then you get in that first job and you've started building your capacity right away. Another way is to look at the size, the general contractor you're working with, what size projects are they doing? So let's start with a a smaller general contractor who's maybe working on retail or doing different restaurants around, like different projects where you're coming in and you can work on the flooring of a new like a fast food restaurant, that that's a size that you can handle, and then you've already started to build your resume, and then getting into some of these networking groups now, so that as you're doing that, you already have the relationships to be able to get into that bigger project. So, some of those are each GC may have their own contractors course or class or program. It's hard to do. I know you can't do everything. I can't do everything. So I know you have to choose, where do I spend my time? Am I getting anything out of that? So try some things and then decide that's not for me. But then also your local government or local trade organizations, so many great things through the National Association of Minority Contractors, or there is the Hispanic Contractors Association in different areas. What are some of the other ones? The NMSDC isn't necessarily construction focused, but some of the local councils do have a heavy focus on construction. So, one or two of those could really help grow. And a lot of those provide business support for someone just getting started also. This might not, I don't want to go outside of your question, but I did get a couple things from the federal government group on working with the government. Okay. So I talked with our division manager and head project manager of our federal region. And this is, of course, we're talking today about working with primes in general, but we also have a huge focus on the federal government, or one region that does that work exclusively. So I talked with them in preparation for today to understand if there's any specific things that are unique beyond just working with us, everything that we've talked about already. And they had a couple things. So one, registering with sam.gov, mandatory. That's the starting point. Easy to register and free as basic company information, but to get as part of that small business, which I think relates to the question of how do you get started? How do you build that resume? Getting on that website can really help. And then they recommended registering with sba.gov as well. That's not mandatory, but it is also free and easy. And I guess it ties the two sites, tie together. And they were recommending it because it maximizes your presence for GC. So this is answering kind of both questions, right? Federal government work, prime work. We are a prime that works with the federal government, so you can work with us, get comfortable in that space, and then work on your own. It's always the hope, right, for you to be primes too, depending on your trade. But that helps maximize your presence for all the GCs that are working with the federal government. When they go in to look for small businesses, which is a part of every job's requirement, they will find your information more if you're on both sites. And then everything we've shared already, knowing if you've worked on projects before. I think you mentioned too, like maybe I have, but my company hasn't. Yeah, I think that is part of the discussion, right? Like, I've been in the industry for 20 years and now I have my new business. You do have that experience. That experience does follow you. And building relationships, we've talked about that a lot today, but during the pre-construction process is a really great way to show that, or to build relationships, because you're going to show that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. You're going to submit your bid on time. You're going to have questions. You're going to be able to answer questions, know the project, and that speaks volumes to what you're going to do on the job site, right? If you're showing up on time, then you're probably going to show up on the job site on time, and the drawings, what's missing, where there's issues. So we get to have all those conversations, and then it's a shoo-in. Someone can have that, can talk with you about the project like that. One thing they mentioned too with federal government projects, like being prepared for different checklists they have. And so as you're getting on as you are invited to bid a project, be ready to ask details about the project, like, are there sustainability needs, BIM coordination, background checks, certified payroll. Those are some things that can be adds or can be beyond the typical for a construction project when you're working with the government. So it's not a secret, it's not meant to trick you, but you just want to make sure you know going into the project. In your bid, you may need to have money for extra sustainability items like materials or trash or whatever, and background checks or certified payroll, that's time and money that you need to make sure you have in your bid before you, as you're submitting it.
Nice. And wow, I'm moving on to my final question. I promise. Like I said, it was my last question a few minutes ago. Oh, but the information is so good. So I really appreciate it, Jessica. If anyone who's tuning in, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat and we'll make sure we get that answer. Now, my final question is, do you have any parting wisdom that you would like to leave with businesses based on your, experience, all of that?
Sure. I was thinking about this for a while, and my nugget here is that it can take a while to get a job for the first time, right? Like the process of building a relationship, the competitive bidding process, it can just take a little bit. And so it's something that you will want to be aware of coming into the process, and having some work going on maybe already, and so that you're comfortable with how you might not get a job for a little bit. So when I say that, I mean, we bid projects multiple times. So we'll do several budget rounds that can take 6 months, maybe a year. If 3 to 4 budget rounds, from conceptual to construction documents, 3 months each, that's a year. So it's something to think about, just that's just part of the process as a contractor working on a negotiated bid with a client. We try not to exercise trade contractors every single time. We understand that time and money, it's just a lot, but we do need market input and clients want to see multiple bids. So that's just part of the process. And it doesn't mean you'll get that first job, right? So you could spend all that time, get really competitive, have a great time, but still not win. And so then you're out another 6 months, a year, maybe. So just having some of that knowledge, and then, you might get, but I should say you could get the first job, which would be incredible. Would love that. Just might not happen. So wanting to get to a point where you have multiple bids going on, and like every handful of bids, you should hope to win one. So you have that kind of consistency going. Same thing with our clients. We know we're not going to get every project, so we want to have multiple things going on. But so having that awareness and being able to, or coming to the bid with some questions. So asking, what round of pricing are we on? When is this project starting? And so that way you can get that information and figure out, okay, can I pursue this or can I not? And be ready to ask for feedback so that how did I do if you weren't successful, so I can get better next time, because then next time I want to get it.
Really nice. Okay, well, we really appreciate the information. One, when you started off by sharing that your average deal size was 30 million, that showed that there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of things going on at Brasfield Gorrie, and we will definitely be engaging with you. Anyone who's tuned in, I dropped the links to all of the different website links. I dropped the link to Jessica's LinkedIn profile. Connect with her there. She posts a lot of content and updates on things that are going on. Jessica, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was a privilege. Thank you for letting me share about all this.
Absolutely. Okay, everyone, that is it. That is the end of this episode. If you have any questions in the meantime, you already know. Make sure you go ahead and drop those in the comment section. We'll make sure we get them to Jessica if it's something directly to them. And until then, we'll see you all in the next episode. Peace.